Hello. The tragic events of the last few days with the invasion of Ukraine by Russia are bringing the whole issue of national borders and national sovereignty into sharp relief. We've condemned the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, just as we've also condemned the part played by the EU expansion and NATO in 2014 when they got rid of a properly elected president of Ukraine. That was in 2014. I would like to deal with a number of issues. One is the importance of borders. Without control of your borders, we cannot decide who may or may not come into our country. That pertains to the issue of security of the people who live within Ireland. For example, that recent case of the poor girl Ashling Murphy, who was murdered by a guy who comes over here from Slovakia, is unemployed, is on disability benefit, gets a free house, and then goes out and murders an Irish girl. If that guy, who we know nothing about, we don't know his criminal record, if he had not been inside our country, that girl would not have been killed. The whole idea of uncontrolled and unvetted immigration into Ireland is ridiculous. Secondly, brings up the point of military sovereignty, which is point one, is being able to defend ourselves. At the moment, the Irish Defence Forces, Ogla na Heron, are completely underfunded, so insufficient manpower to protect this country. We don't even have enough boats to protect our own fishing waters. One is that we need to properly fund the Defence Forces of Ireland that they can sufficiently protect our country in times of need, because you never know what will happen in the future. Secondly, about security, Ireland is supposed to be, it's in our constitution, we're supposed to be a military neutral country. But there, just yesterday, Leo Varadkar says, no, we're not neutral in this conflict between Ukraine and Russia. It's very clear that Ireland is on team EU. Politically, as we've become politically involved with the EU, we have also become militarily involved with the EU. Now, this is very unpopular with the Irish populace. As it stands, Ireland is already a member of the EU battle groups. We have signed up to PESCO. We are involved with. Also, we have soldiers there in Mali to defend French uranium interests in Mali with a EU group. Our country should not be getting involved in the conflicts of other nations. It is always, as De Valera pointed out a long time ago, that it is always the big powers, be it France or Germany or Russia, whoever, it's always the big powers who win when small countries become involved in physical conflicts. That's why we wish to remain outside of military alliances. Maybe our better part is to try to create peace between countries who are possibly going to war or who are involved in war. Countries like Sweden have shown their strength in that as well. What is going on at the minute is that energy prices are going up. This shows that Ireland is not sufficiently self-sufficient in energy. We are vulnerable in a time of crisis to loss or lack of energy in the country. So I believe, or the Irish Freedom Party believes, that we should examine all avenues to become, for Ireland to become self-sufficient in energy. Now that means an examination of the efficacy and the efficiency of both natural gas, of tidal power, and also nuclear power. Now, in the last two, about tidal power and nuclear power, we would ask that there is a state commission to examine the safety and the cost of both these types of energy. We have to be responsible and make sure that Ireland has enough energy going forward. So it is a responsible decision for a state to be self-sufficient in energy. Another point is that people are aware of the rising costs of living at the minute. A large part of that is because of inflation. Inflation has been caused in Ireland because of ridiculously high spending by the government, all the stuff about free living during COVID, pub payments, and like we know that 5.9 billion is spent every year, over 8% of our annual budget of the government, or sorry, from taxpayers' money, goes to fund NGO ideological echo chambers, which for the most part, not completely, but for the most part, don't give any practical benefit to people in Ireland. So another cause of high inflation is that we're in the wrong currency, that very low interest rates are there to help, historically, were there to help France and Germany when the economies were going badly. But Ireland, we're getting money too cheap. The government is flogging out money to all these ridiculous causes, and oversupply of money has caused inflation. Now, an aspect of being in the euro, being a member of the EU and being a member of the euro currency, means that we have given up the levers of control over our interest rates and also money supply. I talked about this a few weeks ago with a young economist called Peter Ryan. So this whole crisis in Ukraine has brought up the importance of sovereignty, sovereignty over our borders, sovereignty over our military capability, sovereignty over our money, sovereignty over our energy supply. And of course, being members of the European Union, it is a political union, which means that people who we didn't elect, who we can't get rid of, have a say over laws which impact our life. That is why basically I am opposed to the European Union, because I'm in favour of national democracy. National democracy means that only the people of the nation and the nation state have the power to make the laws. They are the only people who have a say in which laws are imposed in Ireland. And for me, that is very, very important. So let this crisis concentrate our mind on the requirement of national sovereignty and how we're going to go back and take back national sovereignty for the Irish people in Ireland. My name is Hermann Kelly. I'm president of the Irish Freedom Party. Go Rath. There's been a lot of talk in the last few days by Micheál Martin, Simon Coveney, and Minister for Europe Thomas Byrne about sovereignty. Great to hear it. Let's have sovereignty. How about this? How about we have sovereignty for Ireland? But I'm not really that interested in Ukraine and Russia. It's not my country. It shouldn't be our business. We shouldn't be interfering. I am interested in is Ireland, and I want to see sovereignty for Ireland. So we have sovereignty over our laws, sovereignty over our land, and sovereignty over our territorial waters.
I want to assure President von der Leyen that Ireland will be absolutely on Team EU.
Let there be no doubt about where Ireland stands. We want nothing to do with a backward-looking idea of sovereignty. We remain absolutely committed to the ideals of the European Union.
The entirety of the peace process was premised on the basis that we were all in the European Union together, so there were no borders.
Why join Fine Gael? There'd be several reasons. I felt that Fine Gael was a particularly pro-European party, and I'd be very passionate about Europe. It was liberal enough to suit my own views.
This is a victory for the politics of progress and the politics of remain.
I'd like to change everything at some stage or another. I'd certainly like to see us further integrate with Europe. I'd probably be a federalist on European